This first conical mound that we looked at on the diagram, if you will, for lack of a better name, is Mound 7. The Hopi people built their mounds with care, as evidenced here at Mound 7. Central mound, the largest of the Mound City Group. It was not just a matter of piling up dirt. Layers of clay, sand, and gravel were sequenced in complex patterns. Here, mounded clay capped with sand was the first layer over a large central grave. 3 more layers of clay topped with sand covered the mound at 1-foot intervals. Then several more feet of clay mantled with 20 inches of gravel made the final layer. The effort to accomplish such a task is enormous, not to mention the building of the other 23 mounds and the surrounding earthen wall. Cumulatively, the process may have taken decades or even centuries, requiring significant coordination of labor. Obviously, I just read that. The gentleman on the left, Henry Chetrone of the Ohio State Archaeological and Historical Society, is credited with stopping the Army from destroying Central Mound. Camp Sherman workers built around the mound, leaving it intact for archaeological study by William Mills, the fellow on the right, in the 1920s. Now, in this mound, 13 cremated burials were uncovered, with many objects made of copper, mined 600 miles away near Lake Superior. And remember, they also used obsidian from Yellowstone. Putting the camera on just because it may make exploring this a little bit more interesting. And it may just disorientate you. So here we're approaching the end of that somewhat oblong mound, and there's the other smaller conical mound, which looked larger on their little diorama. Curious. This is actually an elliptical mound. Here's the layout. A large number of spearheads, beautifully chipped, had been placed here, but out of a bushel or 2 of fragments, 4 specimens only were recovered entire. That's from Squire and Davis, 1846. Excavation. Elliptical Mound 3 is the most unusually shaped mound of the Mound City Group. It's located between 2 circular mounds, suggesting some relationship among the 3. Despite elliptical mound size at 140 feet, only 4 burials were found here. One of the burials was surrounded by several hundred broken flint spears of unusual forms and fine craftsmanship. That may be all of this. 3 intensively used crematory basins uncovered on the mound floor indicate that many cremations were performed here. Stone tools, pottery, copper objects, shell beads, and 2 platform pipes were found in one of the basins. I don't know if these are those basins or not. Oh, here's the crematory basins here. And that's orientating it to this map, so here's what those basins would have looked like. Get the feeling that the level of information we're getting is like watching a play through a gossamer fabric. You're probably right. That's how I feel about it. And it's probably because we just don't know that much, and what the archaeologists know would probably bore us to death unless we could really get into it. I'll swing the camera over to this area that we saw on the map, which looked like a circle, a dotted circle. Kind of neat. Ceremonial places. Archaeology is the science of decoding what ancient people left behind. The pattern of holes found in the ground here represents the decoding of one of the most distinctive traditions of the Hopewell, Ohio. The construction and use of ceremonial buildings, places to honor the dead and the living. Mound City excavations of 19 of the 24 mounds reveal ceremonial building platforms. Of this site was a bent pole building, oblong or oval in shape, with straightened sides. Doorways were located on each end, which seems intuitively logical. Excuse me. The interior walls flanked the longest sides and supports in the middle, suggesting an elevated deck floor. At they're saying is this double set of poles in the ground. The inner set might have provided a platform, if you will, as well as these posts on the inside for making a platform or raised platform throughout the center of this structure. The ends, of which this would be one, have just that single poles with that opening that you can see there, the lack of pole, and another couple poles over there. Like if this were the entryway, there would be perhaps a little tunnel there. I don't know. It says that ceremonial leaders conducted many social and religious activities in the buildings. During the burial preparations, they cremated the remains here. The ashes were covered in a small mound, either with or without burial goods, depending on the deceased's social or economic standings. So this apparently is a mound. And here are some others over here. I move towards the opposite side of this square. Of course, we're passing the three mounds we've seen. We can see mounds in the distance, small mounds. What determined their location, their size, who knows? Again, if this were all built over the course of centuries, there could have been different evolving motivations. Almost at the very back, and at this mound, the interpretive is entitled Cultural Transition. Mound 1, covered with trees in the woods before you, is much of the way Squire and Davis found Mound City's earthworks in 1846. By 1500 years ago, the high ceremony of the Hopewell culture had declined. They stopped building large ceremonial centers and produced much less art. Within a few centuries, hunting spears were replaced with bows and arrows. But ties to past traditions remained. The new culture did not build mounds, but dug graves in the existing mounds. Mound 1, which we're standing next to, and many other mounds here, they dug graves, burying their dead there. Archaeologists named these people the Intrusive Culture, based on their burial practices. Unlike their Mound City ancestors, they buried the body, not as cremated remains. They also placed commonly used objects as grave offerings with their dead. So Mound 2, the large mound ahead on your left, contained intrusive materials, as this sketch by Squire and Davis details. A new grave was dug 3 feet into the old mound and 2 bodies placed there. So in Mound 2, a club made of elk antler, similar to this one, was uncovered in Mound 2 with the intrusive burial. Tools made from deer antlers and a buffalo shoulder blade also were found here. Again, mementos of perhaps that person's life, maybe even the very tools they had used. And just to orientate, we're on the opposite side of this square, and we'll go out through its, I think, natural exit. We get a real good idea of the side profile of these perimeter mounds. Here, as I kind of make a little bit of a walk around the nature trail portion of this site, you can see how close we are to this large peaceful river, whose name I don't know at this moment. Interpretive sign describes the connection between this complex and the river itself.